let's go back to where we started. Amy, you started off telling that we live now in an age of anxiety, and you mentioned we've had pandemics, we've had wars, but actually this age of anxiety was happening already before the pandemic and before the war. And it's also interesting to notice that this is not the only times of hardship in the world. If we look at our Finnish history, we can go back to the times of World War, which is also the same for Britain. During those times, life was insecure. We didn't know, will Russia take us or will it not? I've heard that when Paasikivi went to Moscow in 1939 in order to negotiate with the Soviet Union, a horde of people was following the train and they were singing a well-known hymn written by Martin Luther. The name in English, A Safe Stronghold, Our God is Still. Vår Gud är oss en väldig borg in Swedish. I don't know in Finnish. And I'm reflecting upon the difference. We're living in hardship today. We lived it 70 years ago. But what is different? Back then, hordes of people were singing hymns. Today, nobody is singing hymns. Perhaps at church, 10 persons can sing at a time. But there's been a huge difference in society related to secularism. And I wonder, could secularism, the increase of secularism, be a direct reason behind the increased anxiety? Comments on this?
So one of the things I skipped over because my presentation was too long, but was examining, there's in some of the philosophical literature, there's studies that examine the connection between the pursuit of affluence and increase in depression and anxiety. And there's a British psychologist called Oliver James, his thesis is called Affluenza, but he talks about affluenza as a virus-like condition that spread through affluent countries. In these countries, people define themselves by how much money they make. And by far, he notes, by far the most significant consequence of what he describes as selfish capitalism is the startling increase in the incidence of mental health illness in both children and adults since the 1970s. So in the literature, there's an interest in the connection between pursuing a kind of consumerist, materialist dream and the increase in depression and anxiety. I think that's something that's being studied at the moment and is really interesting.